Wow, 3 requests. That's quite a lot for a channel as small as mine. And how long has the CinemaSins Megamind video been out again? Oh. Oh wow. Disclaimer, this series revolves around criticising things, and just because I'm doing that doesn't necessarily mean I dislike the thing. Thank you. Click below to watch the original Sins video, or to buy Megamind.
This 40-second long Epic DreamWorks logo is unnecessarily epic, and unnecessarily DreamWorks.
Normally I let you get away with sinning the logos, but too epic and too DreamWorks? For something that was designed to be an epic logo for DreamWorks, I think you might be pushing it.
My end starts at the beginning.
Starting with the climax cliche. Coincidentally, starting with the climax is the working title for my sex tape. Coming soon is the alternate title.
You're right, climax is a sex word, so you should definitely make a sex joke there. It'll definitely make everyone watching laugh. Which, by the way, is the title of my sex tape.
You are destined for...
I didn't quite hear that last part, but it sounded important.
How does Megamind even remember this in such detail? Does this race have a photographic memory from conception? Because honestly, the ramifications for that are a bit unsettling.
We don't know how memories work for Megamind species. Personally, I don't care. But I'd say if he's in any way capable of forming memories of events, this is something he would definitely remember.
Sure, the gravitational pull of that black hole type thingy is enough to be pulling that entire planet in at an astonishing rate. But an escape pod the size of an infant? No worries. It's definitely going to break free.
This one actually boggles my mind. You really actually seem to be saying that something smaller, with less mass, should be more affected by gravity. Have you ever lived on Earth? Or anywhere else? Because if you had, you would know that gravity exerts more force on objects with more mass. And I don't know if I'm getting my physics terminology 100% right here, but I'm pretty sure even if I've made a couple of physics terminology mistakes, I'm definitely the one saying the less stupid thing here. You know what? I'm not satisfied with that coverage of that sin. This sin is getting the actual stupidest sin ever award, which is an award that I just made up. But from now on, any sin I look at will be eligible for this award, and if I deem it more stupid than this sin, it will take that award from this sin. But I'll be real. A sin being dumber than this sin is something I'm actually having difficulty imagining. Also, winning this award is worth a bonus sin, because that's a rule that I just made up.
Sure, the gravitational pull of that black hole type thingy is enough to be pulling that entire planet in at an astonishing rate. But an escape pod the size of an infant? No worries. It's definitely going to break free.
Also, you know, maybe the escape pod is being helped somewhat by the fact it's got propulsion on it. Just an idea.
Was this my destiny?
Hold on. I would think inventing something like this at a young age would be a ton more impressive than being stronger than everyone else.
Wow, you really just glossed over Metro Man's ability to fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes there, didn't you?
You're a villain, and you'll always be a villain. You'll never change, and you'll never leave.
You're fun.
Megamind would be diabolical at CinemaSins.
What?
Also, I wonder if it was J.K. Simmons' voice work here as the law enforcement officer that got him the role, barely appearing as James Gordon in the DCEU movies.
And I wonder why you think that an actor who appears in this movie, also appearing in other movies in the future, can be stretched into a sin. Also, I'm pretty sure he just gets typecast as character with mustache in superhero movie at this point.
You were right.
I'll always be a villain.
Oh good, can't pass up those on-the-nose song choices. Were Bad Moon Rising or The Boys Are Back in Town not available? Also, he gives the guards at least a few more seconds to take him down. Are they required by law to listen to a villain's pun before taking action?
There was no pun there.
Why would Metro City go through the trouble of putting together a wall for Metro Man to punch through?
For entertainment. So that the audience enjoys themselves and has fun. In your line of work especially, this is probably something you should know about. Also, the trouble of building a wall? Yeah, because walls are so hard.
If he's being honored, he's clearly been around for a minute saving people's lives, and all those people have seen him punch through walls.
Wow, that part was even dumber than the part before. Let's just follow your line of logic there. Metro Man is being honored? Yeah. Therefore, he's probably saved a few people? Yeah. Therefore, all of these people have definitely seen him punch through a wall at some point. What the fuck? I mean, let's just gloss over the fact that he's probably not saved literally everyone in town. Actually, no, let's not gloss over that. Let's add a sin for it. But then let's also consider the fact that punching through a wall is not a necessary step when it comes to saving a person. I would maybe even suggest that it's entirely possible to save someone without punching through a wall.
Seriously, I know they came out the same year, but this and Despicable Me are the same f***ing movie. How did this even happen? 2 animated films based on the villain's viewpoint is very f***ing specific. It's not like these were just 2 movies about volcanoes or Steve Prefontaine.
These 2 movies are comparable, and that's bad, apparently.
This dome is obviously lined with copper. Copper drains my powers.
Your weakness is copper?
Aside from not being a funny joke,
Or, in fact, a joke at all. It's a necessary plot point. Although I guess it's understandable why you made this mistake, looking at some of the things you consider jokes. Get fucking wrecked, mate.
Your weakness is copper?
aside from not being a funny joke, how has this not come up once in the whole time they've been battling each other? Even though this ends up being straight subterfuge, it should have been easy enough to prove false. Do they not have pennies in Metro City?
Okay, so first off, there's clearly a difference between an entire dome lined with copper and a penny. You know, one of my weaknesses is that I can't breathe pure methane, but I am capable of surviving smelling a fart. Second of all, this doesn't even need to be the case because there is no copper allergy. It doesn't even need to be plausible in the first place. It just needs to sound plausible enough for Megamind to believe it. Third, you do not need to interact with pennies. Well, okay, maybe you do, but you don't need to interact with them in the middle of a fight with your arch nemesis. There's no real reason that in any given confrontation between Megamind and Metroman that anyone would really have to be exposed to copper. Like, yeah, pennies exist, but Metroman doesn't have to rub them all over himself during a fight. Plus, in a way, that kind of makes this whole thing more feasible. Copper is something that Metroman has probably interacted with at some point in his life, therefore he would know he has a weakness to it. If it was something like zinc, well, when's the last time you touched some zinc and knew you were touching zinc?
Then why do I feel so melancholy?
The running joke of Megamind's inability to pronounce certain things is harshing my mellow, man. Melancholy and Metro City have 0 in common, other than they start with M and have the same number of syllables, if you make Metro City one word.
There's no if you make Metro City one word about it. The number of syllables doesn't change depending on the number of words. I'm not sure what you think a syllable is.
I feel like being around a bunch of people.
No, that's the best part. It'll just be like you and me.
Nothing like including a bunch of sexual predator jokes in a kid's movie.
This isn't really a joke. Titan is the villain. And I don't mean the Megamind, oh, he's bad, but he's not kind of villain. Titan is a sociopath, and his actions are supposed to make us feel, well, uneasy. Plus, exemplifying this as villainous behavior is a great way to teach kids that this is bad. Being a hashtag nice guy, or even later on being a superhero, doesn't entitle you to the girl. And with there being so many movies, including kids movies out there that just have the hero get the girl because, well, he's the hero. Of course he gets the girl. This movie sends a good and culturally relevant message that that's not always the case. It can be, that's fine. You're allowed to be attracted to the hero if you want, but it doesn't have to be. And trying to force it to be means you're not the hero anymore. You're the villain.
Since we now know we're in Michigan, we also know that the station call letters are impossible. All broadcasters east of the Mississippi River are required to use a W at the beginning, like WMCP, or WJR, or why am I still watching this discount Despicable Me?
How dare you?
Why is this gym scoreboard on? And more importantly, why is it 3-2 with 10 minutes and 40 seconds left?
I'm sorry, I just don't understand how you managed to fit the word importantly into that. It's clearly not a word that's supposed to be there.
After the tragic death of Metro Man, wouldn't continuing to use his image on advertising be a bit tacky? Tooth Time needs to get their shit together.
Metroman just died! Quick! The first thing we need to do is take down all the billboards immediately.
What's the T stand for?
Titan.
Titan? Or Titan? I know it seems like a silly question, but if you check the credits and this joke, it appears to be Titan. But this moment clearly says Titan. And the subtitles actually switch from one to the other about halfway through. Considering Titan is just plain silly, we're going to use Titan from here on out and just blame the movie for its lack of clarity.
Blaming the movie for its lack of clarity in something that was clearly done as a joke, and while it may not be laugh out loud funny, it is a fun Easter egg, I suppose you could call it. Adding a sin for it feels like you just don't really get what kind of movie this is. This is part of the fun, part of the charm.
Code, I don't need you.
Glad movie has time for this pointless conflict.
You should be, because it's good.
I have a cape. I'm the good guy.
You are a good guy, Hal.
But is he though? I'm not sure the movie has done anything up to this point but paint Shallow Hal as a borderline sociopathic stalker.
You're right, she should totally say that to him in this situation. That seems like a great idea, especially if it's all true.
How the f*** is she supposed to get down from there? I'm sure the movie will gloss over any kind of explanation of how this happens and just have her on the ground at some point doing reporter things.
So there are lots of feasible ways that someone can get from the top of a building to not the top of a building. The movie doesn't gloss over this because it hopes you won't notice because it's impossible. The movie glosses over this because it would be really boring and unnecessary because we can all fill in the gaps ourselves.
Where is the one they call Titan? Challenge me, if you dare.
But other than Roxanne, no one knows who Titan is, right? so this was a weird way to begin the charade.
I'm pretty sure Titan knows who Titan is, and he's really the one that, matters for this.
The driver of that gas truck is most certainly dead.
Yes. Well done.
Oh good, a twist! I was hoping movie would throw another plot line into this already tangled mess of a story. The split with Minion, the romance with Roxy, Titan going full villain, and now this? I can't decide which one of these boring plot lines I'm least interested to see resolved.
I think most people would argue that this story is very sharply written. It has a great main plot, loads of good subplots, and ties everything neatly together in a nice little bow at the end. It's absolutely fine if you don't like this movie, but you have to at least try to justify why, and you've not justified why very well at all. If you do think this movie has too many plot points, then feel free to argue why you think that is and why that actually makes the movie bad. But it seems to me you're just drawing attention to it because you already don't like the movie, and it's pretty easy to go, oh no, more of the movie, when you've already heavily implied that the movie is bad, and therefore more of the movie is a bad thing. And I know, you've said it yourself, you're not a movie reviewer, you're an arsehole, but people don't like arseholes. And again, I know you're primarily a comedian, but this was in no way funny, or an attempt to even be funny. This was clearly just intended as a criticism of the film. So if you're gonna say things that can only really be interpreted as criticism, maybe you should consider doing it well?
Using my super speed, I decided to go clear my head.
If Metro Man has this kind of super speed, doesn't that mean Titan does as well? If so, why didn't he use it in his fight with Megamind?
Titan has only recently obtained his powers. Metro Man had them his entire life. Titan may simply not have had the time to develop this power yet. Or maybe even simpler than that, he might just not realize he has it, or know how to use it.
You're the punk I've heard about.
Even animated superhero movies from 7 years ago just couldn't resist the sweet, sweet nectar of finishing the movie with a superhero battling essentially a different version of himself.
Except yes it could, because we all know that's not Metro Man.
Remember that night that I dumped you?
You're bringing this up now?
Well, I did look back, and you should look back.
You couldn't have said that any faster, Roxanne? Maybe just Megamind, turn around. Maybe save the sentimental crap for pillow talk later?
Obviously she's doing this so that Titan doesn't realize what she's actually talking about. So the sin total was 34. I wasn't going to have an end segment quickie review or teaser this week because I want to spend the time I would be working on working on CinemaSins instead, which, by the way, is the entire reason teaser isn't necessary this week, because you should probably know by now what next week's video is going to be. It's going to be CinemaSins Part 2. But there was something brief I wanted to talk about anyway, and I feel like I may as well make that the end segment. So, all I want to do today is say thanks. This is less of a general thanks, although I feel like a general thanks would be called for as well. So, thanks. But today specifically, I want to say thank you to whoever took the time out to make a CinemaSins subreddit, and also made me a mod on said subreddit. I'm not sure who did it, but it is an honour to be immortalised in this way. Oh, and I would like to point you all in the direction of it, because while I'm not entirely sure enough of you watch me to make a fully active community on Reddit, if stuff were to start appearing in that sub, I would probably look at it in a video. Plus, I am subscribed to it, so if there's anything you just want me to see, posting it there is probably a good bet. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll definitely see you on Friday for the Friday show because I've already made that video. I might see you on Sunday for a Sunday show if I can find the time to make a Sunday episode. And after that, I'll see you on Wednesday for CinemaSins Part 2.